guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be bringing you a process video, and we are going to be walking through 2 Samuel 22 verse 17, which says, "He reached down from on high and took hold of me. He drew me out of deep waters." And I am going to be using some acrylic paints and some stamps and maybe a couple other fun things. We'll just see what I want to throw in there. So if this is something that you want to watch, go ahead and stick around and let's get going.
So the first thing I'm going to do to get started is just going to be to washi off my verse. And I like to use my paint card to tear my washi in a straight line. You'll see that in just a second. And this is just so that I can have like a nice clean edge on both sides. Definitely not necessary. I'm going to be using acrylic paints today, and I'm going to use this technique with my paper towels. It's super simple. I am just choosing some blues and greens here just to kind of go with the verse, the deep waters. So these are Target paints that I got, and I'm just showing you the names of them. I will link them down below if I can. So this first color I'm using is called Deep Sea, and it is just kind of like a deep dark teal color. And I just take the paper towel and wrap it around my finger and dip it in the paint, and then I just rub it wherever I want to. And this is a technique I kind of discovered, I don't know, just a few weeks ago really, and I've been loving using this on my pages. I feel like it gives you a really cool abstract look without you know, doing it too crazy, and it gives you more control using your finger instead of a paintbrush, and I really love the way it looks. So you'll just see that I'm going to continue doing that with each of the colors here until I get every color laid down. So now I'm just going to go in with my heat tool and just dry this paint. It does dry pretty quick using this method, but just for the sake of time, I wanted to dry it with my heat tool in between layers, and you don't have to hit it long at all, and it is dried. So this next color is just a deep dark blue. It's called Midnight, and so I'm gonna switch pieces of paper towel every time so I don't get the paint colors mixed and everything. Now these paints from Target, some of them are a little more sheer than others. They are a cheaper paint, so if you have a much nicer acrylic paint that's a little more opaque, that would work great too. But just for the purposes of Bible journaling, I don't mind having the cheaper paints. I think that they still look good, and I like the way that they work. So then you'll just see I'm just going to do the same thing in between each layer, just hitting it with my heat tool and getting that paint nice and dry. You could skip this step and maybe mix your colors a little bit if you want that look, but for this particular page I did not want those colors to mix. So I'm just taking a fresh paper towel every time and going in with that color. And there's not really much rhyme or reason to the way I'm doing it. I'm kind of trying to space the colors out, and also going with the odd number of things. If you don't know what that means, if you do when you're putting things down like this in little blocks, if you do it in odd numbers, so like 3 of them or 5 of them, it just looks a little more even, which you'll see at the end with my last color. I only had space to put it in 2 spots, and I think it still looked okay. So again, just going in and drying these so that the colors don't mix. And I believe I have 2 more colors I'm going to do. This next color is called Bright Teal, and it is one of my favorites here lately. And it is actually a lot more opaque than a lot of the other paints from Target, and I really like that feature about it. I wish that they were all that way so that you could get that really nice coverage like you do with this one. But I just really love the shade of that color. It's really pretty. And I did use this color a little bit more than the others just because it is my favorite, so I did make the blocks of color a little bit bigger. And you'll see I only have 2 more blank spaces there, and that's what I was talking about earlier. I only have those 2 spots to go in with that last color, and there I was just smoothing out some just blobs of color that had kind of just kind of pooled up, and that makes it a lot easier to get it all dry. And then this last color is called Mermaid. I don't think I told you the third color that I used, that medium blue color, the name of that was Infinite Ocean. So this mermaid color is a very light and very sheer color, so I did have to put a couple of layers on there just so I could see it a little bit more. So you really just have to kind of play around with these Target paints and see how they act, because each color really is different. But I have found that the really light colors as well as the super bright colors, especially the neons, they do tend to be a lot more sheer, and so if you want better coverage, you do have to put a couple layers on. So that is it for my the actual color on the background. Now I'm just going to add in some white splatters. So here you'll see I put a little paint on a paintbrush and stuck it in this jar, and then I'm just spraying water down in there and making it nice and thin so that I can put some splatters on my page. This part is a little messy. I usually have splatters all over my desk whenever I'm done, and I did resort to just using my thumb and doing the splatters this way, which is usually how I do it. It's just a lot messier doing it this way. And then once I get the splatters laid down, I do go in with my heat tool and try to dry that as best as I can. It did take a little bit longer to dry these because there was a lot of water on the page with that paint, so it did take a little bit more effort to dry those. Okay, so I did cut out all of that drying time because it was a lot. So now I have dried everything, and I went ahead and filled up my washi tape to reveal my verse. And then I am going to go ahead and outline it. This is just a Sharpie pen that I am using, and it is a new one, I think. It's called the Sharpie Pen Stylo Felt Tip. It does not bleed through the paper at all, and it's a really fine tip, and I love these pens. I got them like a 4-pack for like $6, I think, and they are really great for using in my Bible, so I will try and link those down below as well. And here I'm just throwing in some hand lettering. I like to usually look at my verse and just kind of pick part of the verse that is important to me, and I like to hand letter it. And so the part that I'm hand lettering now, it's just going to say, "He drew me out of deep waters." And I just like to kind of think about my word placement and kind of how I want it to look. I knew I wanted the words deep waters to be really large, and so that was kind of what I was going off of. And I do have a how I video on how I do my hand lettering, so if you're interested in that, you can check that out. I will link that down below as well. And you can check out all of my how I videos right on my channel. It's just a video series that I did that is how I do things, not necessarily the right way, and I think it was just kind of a fun twist on the traditional how-to videos that you see. And so if you would like to, go check those out. I hope to add more videos to those series as I have ideas that come to me. So if there's anything that you would like to see, drop me a comment down below, and I will definitely try to work on that. Also, if there's any verses that you would like to see me journal, drop those in the comments down below as well, and I would love to do more videos based on what you guys want to see. So let me know. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going back in and adding some thicker down lines. Here I did switch my pens. I am now using the Fudenosuke brush pen. It's like a small tip brush pen, and so I will link that down below as well. And I would just switch to it because it's a little bit easier to fill the lines in with a bigger tip. So I do like to use this pen sometimes, but it is not my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of brush pens. I feel like I have less control with them, so I do end up going over all of my thin lines as well, just to darken those up a little bit because it was a little bit hard to see on top of the paint. These brush pens that I'm using right here, they are very smooth, and they're probably, out of all the brush pens I've tried, they're definitely the easiest to use, but they're still a brush pen, and brush pens are difficult to use in my opinion. Some people, I watch some videos of people using brush pens and they just use them so beautifully, and I wish that I could use them that well, but I'm just not there yet. Maybe one day. So, like I said, I'm just adding some thicker downstrokes here, and this is what's called faux calligraphy. So if you use a brush pen in the way you're supposed to use a brush pen, you would be doing this all in one swoop. So you would be making your thin upstrokes and your thick downstrokes all together, but I feel like it looks better when I go back and do the faux calligraphy and add in the thicker downstrokes afterwards. I think I have a little bit better control when I'm just writing as normal and then adding those strokes in later. And then I did go in here and just dry this with my heat tool. I did not want to smear it. And then I did go ahead and put a piece of paper on top while I went over the other one so that I didn't smear that ink. It looked like it was pretty dry, but I didn't want to take my chances in ruining my lettering that I had just worked so hard on. So I'm just going over my thinner lines here just to make them a little more apparent. And then I do end up going ahead and going over all of the other letters because the deep waters ended up looking really dark and I wanted it to all kind of be cohesive. So I did go over the rest of my lines again with this brush pen. I think it is a little bit more difficult when you have a painted background to put lettering on top of it, because especially depending on the color, the darker the color, the harder it's going to be to put that lettering on top and be able to see it. But I think that using a nice black ink definitely helps. So I just am drying it as I go so that I don't smear it on my page, and then again using that paper so that I don't smudge it with my hand just in case it didn't dry. And I love to mix my font styles. Some people like to keep it all the same, but I love the way it looks whenever I mix them up, and so it's really just a personal preference. So here I'm just taking the edge of a paint card and getting it a little bit in my black paint. And I do apologize, some of my Bible, it looks like, is out of frame there. I did not realize it. So I actually just put a little bit of black paint on a plastic palette knife, and then I'm dipping my paint card in the edge and just putting some little art marks in my Bible. I've been doing this a lot lately too, and I love the way it looks. I really love these kind of abstract backgrounds. It took me a while to kind of figure out how I wanted mine to look and to get it to look right. And so I've been having a lot of fun with it. And really, there's just no wrong way to do an abstract page. It's really just using your imagination and just letting it, just letting the artistic side of you take over and just doing it however you want to. And if you love it, then that's all that matters. So here I'm just going to take my giant date stamp and I'm going to use some VersaFine black ink, and I'm going to date my page. And this is a Studio Calico date stamp. It's their mega date stamp, and I will link that down below as well. And so I do like to do a second generation stamp beneath my first generation stamp. It just, I think, adds a little something to the page. And my page did curl up some as I was drying that water on the page, so but it will eventually lay back down. And then here I'm just trying to pick a bow, trying to decide which one goes with it. If you are not a part of the Bible journaling group that I'm a part of on Facebook, you should come and join in. It's called Bible Journaling in Faith, and my best friend started it, and it has really grown, and I am a moderator over there, and it is just a wonderful group of women that all have a passion for Bible journaling, and we do monthly bow clip swaps, so that's where I have so many of these extra bows. I also do have an Etsy shop called Come Alive Creations, and I do sell some bow clips on there as well. And here I am just adding a little dollop of hot glue and then putting another piece of washi tape on top of that clip. And that is a trick to keep your bows in your Bible and keep them from falling out. It keeps them super secure. So that is my page, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun making this page. Please come back to my channel and stay tuned for more.